Do you have the gift of gab and like talking about interesting topics? Are you often called opinionated by your friends and family? Then come to Anchor, where you can be all of the above and get paid for it. Along with being one of the easiest systems to create contact with, Anchor supplies everything you need and can be used from your smartphone or computer. They even distribute your content for you so that you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Just download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Good evening, Internet family. This is Anjanette Potter, also known as Adam's Rib, and this is my Out and About movie review, the first of 3. So this particular movie review, I am going to be discussing the movie The Joker. Now, for those of you who are Batman fans, you probably remember the Joker as being a character out of the DC Marvel comic Batman. So he is one of Batman's arch enemies or nemesis. The Joker was one. He also had Catwoman. He also had the Riddler. And I'm trying to remember, I think there was maybe a few more. I would have to go back. So the Joker, the movie The Joker, starring River Phoenix, Robert De Niro has a cameo, as well as a few other people. Many of the other actors were not quite as well known. This movie is a psychological thriller, which a psychological thriller is a thriller narrative which emphasizes delusional or psychological disorders, or deals with the psychological state of the characters. So it's a subgenre of the thriller narrative. The movie was directed by Todd Phillips, who is also responsible for Old School, Road Trip, Starsky and Hutch, The Hangover Trilogy, Due Date, and Borat. Let me see here. Me and my skip. He also had an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. He also co-wrote the screenplay with Scott Silver, who is responsible for 8 Mile, Johns, the The Fighter. Okay, and he was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay. The co-writer. So the characters, as I mentioned before, are based on characters from DC Comics' Batman series. The Joker is one of Batman's numerous nemesis or enemies. The movie is set in Gotham City, which is the home of Batman. Batman's alter ego, which is Bruce Wayne. It is an origin story. Set in 1981. So an origin story is a backstory that reveals how a character or group of people became a protagonist or antagonist, and often gives their intentions or reasons for their behavior. Once again, produced by DC Films, Village Roadshow Pictures. Let me see here. And distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. The principal photography was shot in New York City, Jersey City, and Newark, New Jersey. It is the first Batman film to receive an R rating from the Motion Picture Association of America. The release date, it was released on August 31st, 2019. It had a runtime of 122 minutes. The budget to make the film was 55 to 70 million, and as of the 16th, last time I looked, the box office for it has been 556 $556.6 million. So they made their money. Okay. A brief history of the character of Batman. The brief history of the character of the Joker. Excuse me. He's a nemesis of Batman, aka Bruce Wayne. This particular version of the Joker was based on the graphic novel Batman: The Killing Joke, set from 1988, Alan Moore. The story in that particular graphic novel depicted the Joker as a tragic character, loosely based on the story. The story arc, The Man Behind the Red Hood, from 1951. So it's an adaptation on an adaptation, I guess. In that story, without giving away too many spoilers, the story of the Red Hood basically had to do with a failed comedian, family man, who suffered one bad day that pushed him over the edge. So they borrowed heavily from some of the crimes, the spree killings that have been going on here lately, and the tie, because there have been debates on whether or not mental illness is a contributor to mass shootings or spree killings. I still say that there probably is, a bit of a tie. Of course, it's not a contributor to all of them, but I'm not going to completely dismiss that it may be a contributing factor either. Jury's still out over the edge. Considered to be one of the best Batman stories ever, and that's novel, The Man Behind the Red Hood, which also contributed to The Killing Joke, which contributed to the movie that I'm reviewing. The character of Arthur Fleck, also known as the Joker, was played by Joaquin Phoenix. You know him as the brother of actor River Phoenix, late River Phoenix. Some acting credits that he has to his he played Johnny Cash in Walk the Line in 2005. He also played in a movie called The Master in 2012. The Village, if you remember The Village, in 2004, as well as Hotel Rwanda also in 2004. I've always thought of River Phoenix as an excellent character actor. So a character actor is usually a term for supporting actors. However, my definition is an actor who has the ability to morph and become the character he or she has been hired to portray. Usually they play the character so well that you don't even recognize it's them until you read the closing credits, unless you already knew going in that it was going to be him. So his portrayal of the Arthur Fleck character, which is the alter ego of the Joker, was consistent with his acting style altogether. He's another one. I'm going to be doing a video. I'm going to be doing a review on Eddie Murphy's Dolomite, and probably going to be saying the same thing about him. But they are one of those people that have the unique quality of being able to become the character. Another actor, there's another two actors. One is the guy who plays the lead in, I think it's 50 Shades of Grey, Christian Bale. And then another one, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman, I can remember here recently just Googling Gary Oldman just to see what he really looked like without no makeup on. Because that's how good he does his characters. You don't really know what he... they really put me in the mind of... Another actor that they put me in mind of is Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney used to be called the Man of 1,000 Faces. And one of the reasons why they called him the Man of a Thousand Faces is because he was he had the reputation as an actor of being able to turn to completely go into the character till he no longer existed anymore. It was now all the character. And to me, Joaquin Phoenix has that same ability. He is a very excellent actor, and I highly recommend this movie. So to talk about the movie itself, there are several themes. I like to give reviews that make you want to go see the movie without giving away too much of the movie and not going into spoilers. Because one thing I hate is when people tell me too much of the movie, because then you don't have that element of surprise, and you don't have the element of suspense that comes, and you need that with this. So one theme that is consistent here, and this has been it seems to have been a trend in a lot of movies that have been being released this year, and that is the issue of class. The exploitation of the lower or low-income working class by the wealthy. The limitations that mental health plays on rising above your circumstances, which also has to do with class. When you hear people arguing about health care and they cut funding to different services that kind of help the mentally ill stay being able to be outpatient, also was a bit of, in keeping with the class on theme. Why it is so vital to provide services for the mentally ill. Because, I will tell a story. I was working for a nonprofit here in Columbus, and one of the things we had to do was gather information on them to assign them to a work assignment in order for them to be able to get their food stamps. So I talked with one lady, and one thing we did as part of our assessment that we did on them was giving them an application to fill out for Medicaid here, Ohio Medicaid. And one young lady was telling me, she had social anxiety. And that's what a lot of people, when people talk about the 1% that you're of your government spending that goes to social services like job and family services, food stamps, and public assistance, is that many people who are on public assistance need their health care, because their health care funds their ability to be able to stay on anxiety medication. So she was not on her medication, and you could tell, being that I, studied mental health, after a while you begin to be able to tell, and many people have mental illnesses that keep them they don't like to leave the house. So she had a problem with social anxiety, and she couldn't be around people a lot. Well, if you don't have a car, guess who you're going to have to be around? You got to be around people, because you got to ride the bus. And then you're going to work where you're going to be around, guess what, people. You may, be working at a job where you have to wait on people. So it's vital that she had that. So I went ahead and gave her an application for Medicaid. Well, she went ahead and filled it out. I gave her the number to call, because I think she had filled it out, but she didn't hear from them, so she had to call them. And I said, they will go ahead and re-up your application over the phone. And so she called them. Well, the next time I saw her, we were both riding the bus, and she came over to me. She said, "You don't even recognize me, do you?" And I was like, she said, "You did my assessment. You gave me the number for Medicaid. I was able to get on my medication, and now you see I'm riding the bus." And I was like, praise God. You know what I'm saying? So in this movie, you see a lot of that, because I will say, the one thing that they are operating from once you see the movie, you will see that the origin story in here is he's a tragic character, and that he has a real problem with mental illness. And it's inherited because his mother has an issue with it as well. And that's, all I wanted to say on this. So it's vital to keep those services going. Also, he becomes a bit of a anti-hero. It's interesting how, people who The rest of us, many people will look and go, well, a person's committing crimes, they're not a hero. Depends on what side of that coin you're on. So another theme here is the misrepresentation of class by the media. So I'm going to give you a spoiler alert now, because I'm going to describe a scene in this movie. So he's on the subway and he gets jumped by some guys that are like Wall Street. Now, people don't believe that people who have money pick on or pick fights with the homeless, but they do. And I've seen stuff. So they pick a fight with him because they think he's homeless. They're on the subway and they decide to jump on him. Well, right before they were going to jump him, they were already kind of picking, with this young woman. So the whole street harassment thing. And I will tell you, if you're a woman who takes public transportation, you understand that sometimes you are taking your safety, your sexual safety, in your own hands, because not everybody rides it is friendly. And so, he basically begins to act out of his mental illness, which distracts them off to the young woman and then onto him, and they begin to pick on him. And then he decides, I'm gonna say he defends himself, and the way he defends himself, he pretty much, he kills him. And so the media coverage, by the time they get done, the media coverage has them, they're these upstanding young men who are working for this, Wall Street firm, and, they make them sound, and it's terrible, because they do the same thing in cases of rape, where they're these fine, upstanding young citizens. They are what they are, and this deranged lunatic decided to, we don't understand how this deranged lunatic can take him out of here, can murder him. I don't hate white people, but you have to see how the media spins things. And so, that's another theme here, is how the victim in this case, the victim, because, they're white males who are, part of the business world, they're made to sound like these upstanding citizens, and this person who killed them is this deranged lunatic. So that's the only spoiler I'm going to, put in here, but it's interesting how that goes. I also would like to say that this is like the second time that Hollywood or the entertainment industry rocked when it came to its depiction of mental illness. The first time that I saw this realistic, because they kind of take you into their world. So he, I guess, would be what they would call delusional. Delusion is a big part of mental illness. The first time I saw this was A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, where they took us into his world as a schizophrenic, and you realize that, and then, when they come out of it, you realize that a lot of the stuff was just going on all in his mind, that none of it was real. So, it was very, very interesting. I have to say this was a very engaging movie. There were very few slow points. It was pretty much engaging, had me on the edge of my seat for the entire movie. There wasn't a part there that you just were ready to know. You were ready. You became vested and just really wanted to know from one point to the next, what? No creep factor, because it wasn't that kind of thriller. But it had very slow starts. My rating for this movie is first run. I highly recommend that you see it. It's worth every dollar that you will spend. I wouldn't be too surprised if Mr. Phoenix got an Oscar nod for this one. In fact, the next three films that I'm going to, because I'm going to do a review after I get done with this review, I will be reviewing Gemini Man with Will Smith, as well as Eddie Murphy's Dolomite Is My Name, and these last three movies that I went to see, the acting. Oh my God. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, also, this week my book blog, Bookworm, is hosting a blog book tour for the month of October and the month of November. October's blog book tour is going to be the book Hug Everyone You Know by Antoinette Truglio Martin. And it's a book about her own personal journey with cancer and her healing. So I'm going to be so this week I was supposed to do I did the guest post, which really basically, and the remaining dates. So next Saturday I will be doing an interview. I will posting an interview with the author like I always do. And also we'll be doing the and possibly her guest post, but I will also be doing my review the following week. Also this Friday night, of course, at 11, I will be doing Eclectic Weekends. So anyway, but like I said, I highly recommend this movie. I hope that this review was not too vague, but like I said, I like to do my reviews in such a way that I don't give away major parts of the movie. I like for you to be, hear my recommendation and go, that sounds like something I want to go see, and go see and be willing to go see it based on that. So you guys have a good weekend. I will be doing, after I get done with this, I'm going to be doing 2 more reviews. So I didn't want to make this one too long either. So this is Adam's Rib, and I am signing off. Hello, you have reached the message line for Adam's Rib Media Ministry. If you would like to give me a shout out, recommend some topics for discussion, or give an opinion about some topics that I've already discussed, either here on my podcast or on my blogs, leave me a message and I will get right back to you. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.